All right. I'm Olivia.
Rachel.
Catherine.
Clarissa.
Clarissa, this one's you.
Oh, this is me. So we have 60 seconds for each database. We actually have a little less because we took up some of that time. Please shush us. There will be a 60-second countdown. When we hit that countdown, we need you to say, shh, the librarians. You got it?
All right. Section 1, library services.
Okay, this is going to take longer than a minute. I don't want you to shush me because I'll yield my time later. So the one thing I tell students always is, if you don't remember anything else I say, please remember, ask a librarian. So you might say, how do I ask a librarian? And we have some lovely librarians. There are more of us than just this rainbow. And you can contact us through the library's website, which is here, american.edu/library. When you land at the library's homepage, you'll see the catalog. We'll talk about databases later. We have subject guides, but then in little tiny letters, you'll see Ask a Librarian and FAQ. So if you click on that, that will take you to the next screen, and you'll see that you can chat with a live librarian 24/7 when the university is open, and that really literally 2 a.m. there's a librarian to answer your questions, more likely a student's question than yours. And if it's a little more complicated, the librarian might say, step 2 is to make a one-on-one 30-minute consultation. And you can make it through in person or in Zoom. And that the last one is our frequently asked questions. We have hundreds of databases, hundreds of questions in there. And my favorite one is, how do I find statistics on illegal trade?
Next up, we have a service. She has to go in. This is the Digital Research and Inquiry Lab. They help with digital projects, both for students and faculty. So if you have a course that maybe your students are making a podcast, or you want to do like an online exhibit, something like that, the DRI Lab is available to assist. They also need to mention that we have high-speed processing computers. So if you have a really big file that you need to work with, DRI Lab is a good place for that. Just get in touch with them for assistance. And one of the platforms that we have through the DRI Lab is something called Omeka. I mentioned online exhibits. Omeka is a platform that enables online exhibits. This is an example from the Natural History Museum, or the American Museum of Natural History. It's image-based, but it can store other types of materials as well. So if you're really looking to tell a visual story, Omeka is a great option.
Simple Studio. To go along with the DRI, we have a small recording studio. It has, you can record lectures, you can have interviews, you can have students interview each other there and record it. There's a clear whiteboard where you can write. It's really fascinating. And okay, good. So there's a camera, microphone, everything you need to create a podcast. Your students can use it. It is by appointment. It's located on the lower level of the library.
The music library is great. It's not in the main library like all of these other resources. It is a place in Katzen Performing Arts Center. It is in the library, or when you walk in, it's down and you turn left. It's this great little space that has all kinds of resources. I started taking piano classes just this past semester. So I go in there and take some sheet music. We have all kinds of sheet music. There's a ukulele you can borrow. The staff that work there are fantastic, and they know everything you need. So even if you don't know the music term or word you're looking for, they can still point you in the right direction. They also organize the Cats and Sound Bites on Thursdays or Tuesdays. If you go in on Tuesdays, this is wrong. There'll be live music for like 10 minutes. It's really cool.
All right, the Geospatial Research Lab is another dedicated space in the library that will help you accomplish maybe some unique goals that you have for your research or presentation skills. So the lab itself has specialized software that will allow you to do some mapping projects, including things like ArcGIS or ArcMap. Those softwares also come with data that Rachel will talk about in a minute. There is a subject guide on the library's website that will help you go through how to find these kinds of resources and what to do once you actually get into the lab. And the lab is supported by our GIS librarian, Jessica Breen. She's amazing. And she's the main person who supports this geospatial at american.edu. So it's both a space, but it's also staffed and supported by people who can help you advance a project if you're not already familiar or into GIS work.
And one of the resources, data resources that we have that is geospatial specific is ArcGIS Living Atlas. This is an online database that's essentially designed to help you find geospatial data, pull it down, and then it works on a variety of GIS or geospatial platforms. But I can't highlight enough the fact that we have a librarian. Her job is literally to help with geospatial stuff. Again, both for students and faculty, whoever needs assistance, staff. So get in touch with her if you're interested in more geospatial stuff.
Archives and special collections. So they're located in our Spring Valley building and they're available by appointment. Archives, they have everything AU. We have our charter correspondence, anything old photographs of AU. But they also have primary source collections. We have particularly strong collections in social justice and social justice organizations and events. We have an archive of Peace Corps volunteer materials, journals, letters, and if you know any returned volunteers who just don't quite know what to do with their memorabilia, send them to our archives. We have a wonderful digital collection too that you can browse on the web. And if you need any help, it's archives@american.edu. And one of my favorite things is the Sphinx collection of the Japanese woodblock prints.
One of the more interesting ways that you can interact with archives is that we have a bunch of older archival materials from AU's history that are in very scratchy cursive. And, you know, knowing people who know cursive and can read and decipher these letters and be able to transcribe what's in that those letters is enormously helpful. So they ask anyone who's interested, you can create an account and just start typing. There's some guidance to help you so that you get it right, you know, where to put question marks when you're not sure, all of that stuff. I think all four of us have participated and found it to be very rewarding, if sometimes a little tedious, because a lot of it's just lists of people that donated money to the university, but there's also really fascinating letters from the founding of AU.
All right, and if anybody wants to scan this, come find me after the presentation. All right, the makerspace. So in the library on the lower level, we have a space that is specifically meant to enhance creativity and fun. I've seen faculty bring a group of students there mid-semester as a de-stressor. So if you're working on, say, a really intense capstone and all of your students are like up to here with their stress, book some time in the makerspace and they'll help you come up with a project that will bring that down. It's really great for community building as well. We have our crafting corner events throughout the year, and this is one where our university librarian taught a crocheting kit. And later in the year, a student came up to her at an event and said, because of you, I have started crocheting and look at this vest I made, right? So we're really sort of using the library space and materials to build community. There's also some deeply academic purposes. This is where our poster printer lives. So for academic posters and various other creative outputs.
Great. One service the library offers is the evidence synthesis support service. This is support that the library runs. It's me and two other colleagues where we assist with different types of evidence synthesis. So mainly known as systematic reviews, scoping reviews, meta-analyses. We offer consultations. So it is just come meet with us. We'll help walk you through the process, but we're not going to do much of that work for you. Other librarians at other institutions may do other things. We don't have the time to do that. That would warrant like co-authorship level. But we also have plenty of information. There's a research guide on our website that will point you to all the things, as well as a toolkit on that website. And feel free to reach out if you need any support on that or want to know more about this research methodology. Very important for doing evidence synthesis. It is in the health sciences, this Cochrane Library. It's a major resource. This is where you will list and find all kinds of different studies being done on health-related topics. This is where you can post your protocols. You can see what other people are currently working on. You can see what has been done. They also have a handbook. These are the kind of guiding regulations that'll walk you through how to do this whole process and what's going on. This is helpful for your own evidence synthesis project or to inform decision making. So if you're just doing research on these topics, these are going to help make evidence-based decisions.
So scholarly communications, this is really more about research support, but it's my position. Two areas that we provide support in. One is open access. If you are a researcher looking to publish, we have some different ways to assist you in making it openly available, including some deals with publishers, most notably Cambridge and Springer are probably the two biggest. Anytime you publish with those publishers, we will pay to make your article open access automatically. We also have a fund to cover other fully open journals that aren't covered by those agreements. We also offer research impact support. So anyone who has research expectations, you will be evaluated on them at some point, and we can help you craft a compelling narrative of your research impact, both in the scholarly community and beyond. Another platform that we offer, so Omeka is one platform for publishing research. Another is,
It's hard to see the screen. Is it possible to turn off the light that's lighting the screen?
Sure.
Go for it.
probably, yes. Hey, that's beautiful, thank you.
Thank you.
Aura, the EU Research Archive, is our institutional repository for scholarly materials. So we can put early versions of manuscripts, but also other things like reports, white papers, data, etc. And you can track its impact in the repository. All faculty have logins, and it's a simple one-click, very short form for staff and students to get an account and upload your own materials. And I'm the supporter for that, or email Aura, which also goes to me for questions. And the last of my pitch. So this is another database that we subscribe to that helps us track engagement with our scholarly research that isn't just citations, which is the primary way that we track scholarly impact. This is anything with a DOI, which are scholarly outputs. Anytime they are mentioned in the news, they're shared on social media, they're cited in policies, mentioned in academic blogs, in Wikipedia, and more. It collects all of that information, and you can look at that information at the journal article level, which is what this looks like. It will summarize all the attention and give you a score. You can also look at the author level. Every single researcher at AU has their own profile on this database that you can easily look at all of your different engagement, and you can even do it at the school level. And this is an example of a report created for our School of Education. Excuse me, what's DOI? Digital Object Identifier. It's a unique number that's given to scholarly outputs to help track them. It's also a URL. All right, so we're going to do a brief section on some of the new databases we've added in the last year.
One fun, exciting thing we have is the Underground and Independent Comics database. So this is a collection of adult comic books and graphic novels from the pre-comics code. I thought I was going to look that up ahead of time. I don't know what that is, but it's an important thing to comic books from the modern era. We have over 3,000 different documents and books. So you can go in there and you can look at all these different things. You can search by character, you can search by title, by author. There's a lot of different ways you can look at things and browse or do research. So this could be like a historical document thing for you as well.
All right, Latin American women writers. So this is a collection from the 17th century to the present of literary outputs by Latin American women. And one of the things I think about when I look at a new database is like, how would I get into the information? And so keyword search is always available to you. But if I'm new to a subject or if I'm wanting to explore in different ways, what can the database do to let me really browse? And so there's some really cool features here where you can look up an author based on their nationality. And so you can browse through the list of nations that are represented in the database. And in this case, you can see that from Puerto Rico, there are 242 literary works where the author identifies as being Puerto Rican, right? And so you can also browse a list of author names. You can sort by things like date or document type. So we're looking at short stories, books, poems, and get into the material that way.
And our last new one I'm very excited about is environmental history, conservation, and public policy. It is very hard to get science historical documents among archives. So this is really cool just because it exists. And it's even cooler that we have access to it. So there are 10 collections of archives. Each one is from a different place and different resource. Some of my favorite ones in here are the American Bison Society records and Velma Johnson, who is also known as Wild Horse Annie, papers where she was big on protecting horses and burros out west. So that was really cool. They have primary documents where you can learn more about the historic concerns and the practices that were going on at that time. These are all early to mid 1800s.
All right, section 3, data, statistics, and all things numbers.
Polling the Nations is just one of the many databases and sources we have for polling data. When I showed you the library's homepage, there's a tab that says subject guides, and there is a subject guide for polling and public opinion. It's many pages long. Polling the Nations is just one of them. And it has over 750,000 original polls. They have them presented visually, so the students need a quick view at people who favor Russia versus Ukraine in the war. And it goes from 1986 to present. So lots of good stuff there.
Another polling database we have is iPoll and Roper Express. What's great about this is that it really pulls in multiple reputable, well-known polling organizations. So they have the Kaiser Family Foundation, they have Pew, they have Gallup, they have newspaper and university affiliated organizations that do polling. And then as you do your searches in here, some of the content limiters you have, including downloadable data sets. So some of those organizations, Pew especially, like they'll have a 6-month embargo, right? So they've done a poll, they've started to put out information on it, but they want to give their authors a window of time to really work with that data before the raw data is made available. So if your students are finding Pew data and are trying to figure out, can I actually get the raw data behind it? Coming to Roper will both give it to them and give it to them formatted. Now, one thing to note is that when you click on questionnaire, usually the demographic variables are not listed there, but they exist.
Okay, I hope this will take just a minute because I love Sage research methods, but they're two different databases. Sage Data has many curated, over 1,000 curated data sets. They recommend that this is a good place to send your students if they're looking for data because it has been vetted and curated. It's from many different sources. It's state, local, US, international statistics. And the second database is Sage Research Methods, which is my current favorite database. It explains different survey methodologies, different instruments. Students can watch a video, they can read a book, they can read a paragraph, that you can browse by method. If you want to use a survey, it will then has a whole project planner to help you from start to finish. The one that I especially makes me feel like I'm not an imposter is this Which Stats test. It'll step you through asking you a series of questions about what you want to achieve. And then at the end, it'll say, well, based on your answer, this is the method that I would suggest. And it doesn't just tell you the method, It tells you all about the method, what it is, and how you use it. We used that very much.
Yeah.
Anyway, and it's got data visualization too.
CDP, the climate change data. So AU has access to data from 2010 to 2023. CDP stands for the Carbon Disclosure Project. They are a nonprofit organization that maintains global environmental reporting systems. So this is where you can go to find any kind of information about who is doing this, what is the tax credit, any kind of that information. So when you click on this link in the library's resource, you'll just get a form. You have to fill out the form to request the data, and you'll receive the data that you request within 2 business days. To find out what kind of data you're looking for, you just go to their normal website and browse and see what they have. And then when you put in the request form, if they don't have that or they have something slightly different, they'll work with you once you get that. But you have to fill out the form first to get that data. It's not browsable.
All right, the Cross-National Time Series Data Archive is a fascinating product. So it started at SUNY Binghamton with the idea that in 1968, there was a lot of data available about different nations, sometimes the same data point, right? But collected in giant tables and statistical yearbooks. So the goal was to create a product that would allow for some machine readable work on that data so that social scientists who do comparative work would have ready access to that data. So over the years, they've done a lot of experimenting with sort of evaluating the sources they're using and cleaning that up. But there are more than 200 years of annual data 1815 onward, with over 196 sort of variables, right? Demographic, political, legislative. And I took a little screen capture here of just some of the things in the code book, right? With like telephone lines per capita or first class mail sent per capita. And it's great. ICPSR. So this is the gold standard for political science and social science research, repository and extraction. So if you are a researcher required to make your data available to comply with grant funding, ICPSR is a place where you can store that data. And if you are a researcher or if you're students or novice researchers looking to build some quantitative skills and need well-formatted data, ICPSR is a place to go. You can search the questionnaires, you can search specific variables. So just for funsies, I did a variable search on Pokemon and found a survey of youth about whether or not tools like Pokemon Go are getting them out of the house, right? And there's data on that. So if you're curious about something, ICPSR has data on that. One thing they've added just this year that's pretty cool, if you are teaching quantitative methods or if you're a qualitative person, they have what they call their No Stupid Questions video series that help you understand things like code books or what's the difference between data and statistics. You're up, Clarissa.
Oh, this is me. Pivot is a database that you can use to identify research funding opportunities, and it will match you with those funding opportunities. So you can look either inside or outside of an organization. You can set up an alert. So when there's something available, you can do it. You can know it's there. This resource is provided through the Office of Sponsored Research Awards and Research Administration. My sample search was about manatee conservation because I like that topic. And there's several different awards that you can do just by searching that. So your individual research specialty might have something there too. So that's a place to look.
All right, section 4, music and the performing arts. Hit it, Catherine.
I have no idea what the title of this database means. Our music librarian asked us to
Quincy Jones.
Sorry?
It's named after Quincy Jones.
There we go.
There you go.
Well, there you go, right down at the bottom, because he's one of the curators. Thank you. I love shared knowledge. Okay, I gotta go. So our music librarian asked us to feature some of her databases because she wants us to think in larger terms about how music can be used in your various classes. So this is excellent primary source material. It is live recordings, not studio, but live recordings. And you can see it goes all the way down and curated by Quincy Jones.
Another music resource we have is American music. So this is really focused on, the American context. So on the one hand, you can just stream music from this database and just enjoy it. Or it might be a really helpful primary source component for anyone studying anything around, protests, history in the US, anything that might have sounds associated with it. And you can see there's a lot of different topics that connect to music in various ways. So it's one of those like enrich your paper with an interesting primary source for them to analyze that students may not have thought of.
All right, Naxos Jazz. So how many of you feel like you pay too much money for streaming services, but want to be able to stream some nice music in your office while you're getting your work done? So if you teach a class about jazz and the American Civil Rights Movement, Naxos Jazz can help you with your academic and teaching work. But if you're just a person who also likes to listen to jazz, you can cancel that Spotify subscription, save yourself a little money every month, and listen to Naxos Jazz through
Without
AU
ads.
Library. That's really kind of all there is to say about it. It's jazz and it's streaming and it's multiple eras and it's multiple performers and there's a lot of ways to get it. And there's a lot of content there, right? You're not going to get bored listening to music in this database.
So even if you don't like opera, there are many ways that you can use opera to enhance your other classes that you might be teaching or taking. A language class, for instance, challenge your German students to listen to whatever, Tannhäuser. And this is the same, these are live recordings of the opera at the Met, and the later ones, they have interviews backstage, and it's really cool because they're interviewing them while you're seeing all the scenery being moved and what's actually going on in the background. So there's a lot of ways you might be able to incorporate music into your classes when it's not a music class.
All right, section 5, newspapers and magazines, and there are a lot. So first I want to highlight that we've really over the years built up newspaper access where you get it the way you want to, right? So if you have a personal subscription to the New York Times, you can log in with just your email address, you can highlight the sections you want. Well, AU Library is paying for you to have that same access. So if you are paying for the New York Times, Washington Post, the Wall Street Journal, Financial Times, The Economist, or Bloomberg, I want you to stop. And instead, go to the AU Library A to Z list, where when you click on one of these resources, we have instructions for how to register your AU account so that then you can put the New York Times app on your smartphone and access it that way with the full content. And we've paid for it as a collective entity instead of you having to pay for it as an individual. True for your students too. So no, I can't read that. Use my 10 articles for the month, Miss Professor person. Yes, you can. AU Library has paid for you. It's like my favorite benefit. Oh, Atlantic.
Another thing we just got last year, it's a new resource, theatlantic.com. So you cannot make an account for it, but you can bookmark the link. So if you go to the AU Library, Google atlantic.com, that .com is the important part. You get access to it. And then I just bookmarked that link. You can't really save articles or do anything else, but you get access to everything that's available online. My favorites include the How to Build a Life column by Arthur C. Brooks.
So yes, if you've assigned an Atlantic article, your students can't save, but it's behind a paywall. I can't read it.
No, I mostly want to read it.
Oh yeah, totally.
Yes,
Same, fine.
So moving on from personal subscriptions to databases where it's more like any of our other databases where you're doing a search and coming back with the text of the article, but it's not going to be the full access to the whole entire source. Access World News is one of the larger and more global ones. So especially if you are looking for non-US newspaper coverage, Access World News is wonderful. As you can see, over 12,000 different sources with lots of geographic language filters to find exactly what you need. So I think a lot of SPA, SAS, SOC, right, classes can benefit from this because there's a lot that you can do with, native content. And sometimes in English, sometimes not.
All right, ProQuest News and Newspapers. So there are a lot of newspaper aggregators out there. This one combines sort of 38 of ProQuest's different news databases. And I like it for its sort of depth of late 19th century through the 20th century. What they'll have sort of what they call their historic newspapers, where you buy the entire run of a newspaper to have accessible, and then those are all stacked up in the same database. So the screen capture here is just a pull of some of the historical newspapers that are in here. And you can see that we have the Atlanta Constitution and the Atlanta Daily World, the Baltimore Afro-American and the Baltimore Sun, right? So if you're trying to get a sense of a historical event from more than one community's point of view in a geography, this is a really cool database to get into that, right? And sort of get a sense of how different newspapers in the same town, right, may be viewing the same event differently as it's playing out. So you can explore that. Yep, there's the shush. Vogue. Okay, so this is one where I really like, because I work a lot with the School of Public Affairs, so I have students doing like women in politics projects, right? And fashion is a really interesting lens to see how people have been understanding the world, and that's true of politics and other things as well. So the collection here is 133 years of fashion history, right? But fashion history is history of all sorts of things. And so we have the suffragist parade from 1912 and a feature of women actively in politics serving in office in 1980. I did a search on money or finance. And interestingly, there's a lot of content about the importance of being financially savvy, of managing your money, and it starts in 1980. Like before 1980, Vogue wasn't talking about money, but now they are. So it's a really cool window into how women in fashion influence the broader world.
We do have several image databases. AP is one of the great ones for newspapers. So as you can see, over 3.5 million images dating back to the 1840s. Again, this can be used either to add some interesting material to a paper or as a primary source where they're analyzing the images on a specific topic. This can also be used to just kind of learn more about a topic. So if you look for photos that match Georgia, so this is you, Olivia, found the first woman to serve in Senate, and doing more history about who that was, why did they serve for a day and a half, right? Ended up, falling down the rabbit hole. One thing that I like about it is that I get a lot of questions about, I'm publishing this piece, can I use this image? AP Images will tell you what the permissions are for each and every image. For class papers from students, not important, but if you're someone who's looking to publish this to the outside world, that's really important.
All right, CQ Insight and Analysis. So this is a very specialized news resource, right? Their focus is on covering the federal government, largely through the lens of Congress, but also looking at the agencies and the White House and how they're kind of interacting with one another. So you can click on this daily and get a sense of, this is from just this week, right? Where we're looking at the spending database, right? Disappearing data has been a big topic, right? And so we're getting this sort of specialized look. Across the top, you see that today at a glance. If you are interested in entering some sort of experiential learning components into your class and you want to tell your students, get down to the Hill and sit in on a hearing, right? This will help them find the schedule to know what's actually happening that day and what's being covered. And there's a lot of really specialized budget and appropriations information here, because at the end of the day, policy only matters if you fund it.
Hot takes included in our section. Many of you may already be familiar with Chronicle for Higher Education. It, along with Inside Higher Ed, are the two main trade journals that cover higher education. So if you don't follow either or both of them, I recommend it. There's obviously a lot going on in higher ed right now. So this is a good way to stay in touch with what's happening, and this gives you, I believe, direct access to Chronicle for Higher Ed. So if you are like me and keep hitting that paywall button, again, just set it up now, right? And then we don't have to worry about it in the future.
Environment and Energy Publishing, also known as E&E. Publications is one database that collects all kinds of environment and energy news in one place. So it can be published anywhere else in any of these other newspapers, magazines, wherever. It will appear here. It is both US and international environmental and energy, both policy and markets. So you have all kinds of different things, not a ton on like the science. So if you're looking for that like conservation-y piece, it's not really going to appear here unless it's talking about like the markets of wetland banking or something like that. It collects news daily. It organizes in different boxes by either trending, most read, or top stories, and it accumulates throughout the day. So you can check multiple times and it will often have a few new things going.
All right, section 6 are scholarly databases.
So your students, if they're wanting to look at something through a specific lens, you probably want to send them to one of our more specialized databases. If they put a search into JSTOR about peace, they might get 10,000 hits. And I want you to know that probably none of them will be new because of the nature of JSTOR. But Peace Research Abstracts is just one example of a scholarly database that will help the students focus on their particular lens.
Okay, we've all heard of JSTOR. It's been around forever, but I wanted to highlight it here because they've introduced a new feature that might be worth at least having some conversations about. So they have an AI chatbot that they have added to JSTOR, but it's not about searching for information. It's about engaging with an article once you've found it. So the chatbot is only visible once you've opened an article. And the chatbot will only engage with you about content that is in that article. And so I don't know how useful this is, right? My last bullet point is useful because most of us, like, if you want to know about the article, read the article, right? But it's kind of interesting because if you have a long article and it's kind of dense, you might be able to sort of figure out, is this worth my time, right? Is the thing the word city matched on the search, but is it really about cities? And so you can ask, does the text discuss actions taken at the city level? And the chatbot tells me, no, it's really about the broader implications of climate change. Anyway, there's an AI chatbot.
Scopus is one of our larger multidisciplinary databases. It's used a lot, especially in the social sciences, because it has superior social science coverage. It's also fairly good with arts and humanities. We have other databases that are more STEM focused. One of the shining features is that it does citation tracking. So how many times was this article cited after it was published? And this is also on the research impact person, can be used for research impact. This will become very soon our primary source for journal rankings. So you guys have heard of impact factor. We will have access to site score and site score only starting, I think, in October or so. So if you're someone with research impact needs, needing to talk about the prominence of the journal you've published in, Scopus is the place to go, but it also does have alt metrics that are different from the alt metric database.
Teaching books is this really fun, cool resource. Even if you're not in education, it can help you with working with your own kids. So it has resources that support connecting K through 12 students to 102,766 different books in English and non-English languages. So it has all different kinds of resources. It has over 300,000 resources that encourage multimedia author and book integration. So you can diversify your family's reading. You can learn about something new, connect with authors. There's a section for children so they can do their own searching through things. There's sections for educators, other adults where you can look through there. I looked, browsed, and some of my favorite childhood books have lots of different resources. There's even ways to integrate Dog Man, which is a really fun book by Dave Pilkey, and they had a movie come out, so your kids might be really into this. Annual reviews is my next one. This is a database that has all kinds of journals that do literature reviews. So they are journals that cover science and social science topics that review journals. The review journals will connect learners with the most recent developments in each of these different disciplines. So there's a lot of different resources. If students are starting out on research, this is a really good place to send them, especially in sciences when like handbooks and encyclopedias tend to be a little too out of date.
All right, Sage Knowledge Business Cases. I wanted to highlight this one because we often get requests for Harvard business cases. But those are really, really expensive to license at an institutional level. And we have found that when we can convince faculty to adopt the Sage Knowledge Business Cases instead, they're actually really pleased with the content they get. So Sage has over 1,000 cases to support your curriculum, and you can browse by the sort of use case, right? Are you looking at strategic management? Are you looking at HR management? So there's a lot of browse features and search features, and it's a way to sort of engage that case-based learning that's really popular in business classes without the incredible expense of Harvard business cases.
If you've come to these presentations before, you know I always like to highlight birds of the world. We no longer have access to birds of the world, but Grismick's Animal Life Encyclopedia is similar in that it talks about animals and their life. It goes everything you would ever want to know about anything you may or may not consider an animal. It starts with sponges and sea cucumbers and goes all the way to primates and other animals. This is a great place to go if your small child is really interested in all animals, if you're doing a research topic on animals, or you yourself are tired of the world and just want to learn about animals.
All right, section 7 are reference tools and navigating new topics.
We have a series called the Oxford Very Short Introductions, and they cover over 600 different topics. They're very concise. They're written by experts, and we have them online, as well as this is a picture of our first floor library, the display. I'm really glad Clarissa mentioned your children, because if you have high school students, we do help your students. They might find these books interesting. If your students are finding the research too specific and they need a bigger picture, these Oxford short introductions are very helpful. And my children wouldn't have made it through high school without the help of the AU librarians, so we're paying it back. The students can use our make appointments with us too, your kids.
O'Reilly Online Learning are technical books. So if you or your students are learning on coding, statistical software skills, or anything like that, these have guidance texts and workbooks to practice. There are also some business texts in here for some reason. So if you are interested in business or marketing aspects, there's a few of those in here as well.
I think of O'Reilly and LinkedIn as very sister products. LinkedIn Learning used to be known as lynda.com. So if you're familiar with lynda.com, this is what it is now. It's owned by LinkedIn. This is essentially skills enhancement. It's definitely geared towards the workforce. But if you find yourself needing, again, software skills, that has a lot of HR type stuff, like how to succeed as a new manager or something like that. They're increasingly involved with AI. So not only do they have individual videos for various topics, but they also combine them together into a course, and you can even gain certification through their platform. So for anyone who's looking to boost their skills, LinkedIn Learning is a good resource for that.
All right, the Gale Directory Library. Directories are one of those resources, reference sources that we think about less in the age of the internet, because if you need a phone number or something, you can just Google it, right? But I often work with students who are trying to find information on their very niche area of interest, and they're trying to figure out who might be collecting data on this, like what organizations care enough about this topic to collect information. And so directories are a specialized way to sort of get to that idea of who cares, right? Who cares about this thing that I also care about? So I did a sample search of just looking for trees and limiting to Washington, D.C. So what organizations in Washington, D.C. care about trees? And I found from the Encyclopedia of Governmental Advocacy Organizations, the National Urban and Community Forestry Advisory Council, which is a really cool place, locally accessible, that also cares about trees.
Pronunciator, we bought primarily to support the language learning lab, but this is one of those things that if you're looking to learn a language, you may be relying on free apps. Some of those apps, I'm not going to mention which one, has been aggressively replacing staff with AI. That's kind of their business model now. So If you are looking for a new way to learn languages, may I recommend Pronunciator. It has a variety of different learning materials. So not just courses, but videos, quizzes, all kinds of stuff. And as you can see, over 300 languages to learn in 140 native languages. So if you find yourself with students who could use some language skills, Pronunciator is a great place to go. Oops.
Oxford Reference is many different things. We have 4 different databases listed here. We have the Oxford Reference Library. This is a place to go if you're looking for encyclopedias, kind of information about whatever your topic is. That's a really good place. We have the Oxford Bilingual Dictionaries. As you're working with Pronunciator, sometimes you might want to look up a word on your own. You can look up words, test your knowledge, learn different grammar techniques. It includes English, and then there's like 8 other languages. I had it written in my notes, and now I don't have my notes. But I know German's one of them because that's one of my languages I practice. Chinese, things like that. We next have the Oxford Handbooks Online, which has over 1,000 handbooks with up-to-date coverage. Handbooks are different from encyclopedias, right? So you need different places to go for that. And then we have the traditional Oxford English Dictionary online. So if you want to look up words, that's where you can do it.
All right, I think this is our last section. We are into our fun collections.
So I found myself in need of a tripod the other day, and I was very glad to know that I could go to the library and check one out with my ID. So we have cameras, Chromebooks, microphones, calculators. You need any kind of equipment for AV, you can borrow it from the library. Sometimes it's hard to find pages within the library's website. So we have on our FAQ, we have lots of different keywords. So just look up microphone in our FAQ and it'll take you to the page that will link to our calculators and all the wonderful things you can borrow from us.
Also, if you ever need to charge your phone on campus, we have a big charging station, the lower level, where you can lock it.
And we
Right
have
there.
as well, I didn't have a picture of it. We also have every little kind of cable you could possibly need. If you find yourself, you need an HDMI cable, and they have pictures of them. So if you don't know what it is, you can just point to it.
LibKey Nomad. How many of you are LibKey Nomad users? Okay, after this session, you will all be LibKey Nomad users. So LibKey Nomad is a web browser extension, Chrome, Firefox, Safari, all the big ones. And what it does is you tell it, you install the app, the extension, you say, I'm with AU Library. And then you find yourself on Amazon or Wikipedia, or maybe you've identified something through Google Scholar. LibKey Nomad then will populate what you found with this little download PDF link. So essentially it's saying, aha, the resource this web page is referencing is available through AU Library. So instead of getting caught behind paywalls or having to take 3 or 4 more clicks on a search to get to the resource itself, you've got the resource, full text, ready to go, because lib like library and key like it's unlocking the resources, and nomad like it's following you around the internet, right? So LibKey Nomad is awesome.
You guys may know this already, but we are part of a DC Area Library Consortium, WRLC. So we can borrow materials from WRLC. We have a van that goes to all the different universities to deliver materials, usually in 1 to 2 business days. But the other thing that I think less people know is that you can use your AU ID as a library card at most of those other libraries, except for the law and medical libraries. Those are more restricted. So, yeah.
Yeah, we are physically open to the public during business hours, but some of our downtown partners are not, but you get special privileges. Georgetown and GW will let you in with your AU ID.
So like if there's a topic like engineering, we have 0 on engineering, but we have access to engineering schools and all of their materials. So you can literally go there and check out materials, browse and all that fun stuff. Mometrics. This is, I think, one of the more unusual databases. If you need to study for a test of various kinds, a professional exam, GREs, TOEFL, any of that, we have study materials all in this database. So it's over 1,800 different tests. My husband used it when he was studying for the CFA exam, financial something.
Certified financial analyst.
Yeah, I know what my husband does. But you can see there's a lot of different categories. So anytime you are needing some sort of certification, even if it's like to be a yoga instructor, and there's some sort of test that you need to pass, they can help you study for a variety of materials. Yeah.
Games. We have all kinds of games, board games at the library. There's a link if we share this later. You can browse all the games there. You can borrow them for up to 1 week. We have a very extensive collection that includes all the classics, more recent games. My favorites include Deadly Dowagers, where you play as Victorian women who are trying to rise the social ladder, and so you kill your husbands. There's other games like Splendor Duo if it's just you and somebody else playing. There's lots of different fun things. You can alternate through them. I tend to pick up a board game on Wednesday, so that I have it for the weekend. Board games, lots of fun. You can check them out at the front desk.
Also good for classroom bonding.
That too.
All right, popular reading collection. I love this collection. It's like having a mini public library on the first floor of our library. So I don't know about you, but I can almost never read a book in the time frame of the public library's checkout window. And if it's a really popular one, they won't let you renew it. But you can use your academic borrowing schedule, right? Which is like forever. And check out Demon Copperhead and have it for as long as it takes you to actually read it, right? So this is a rotating collection. We lease these books through a gift fund, right? So at like no cost to our students' tuition, we're able to have this sort of rotating collection of novels, nonfiction, really kind of interesting, fun things. And it's great. Come browse it right before winter break and decompress from the semester with leisure reading.
We have some other different interesting collections, such as cookbooks. We didn't have time to feature all of them, but we do have 13 separate browsable collections through our online, it's not called the catalog anymore, AU Library Search, yes. And it's a little hard to find these collections, but it's under the 3 dots once you're in the AU Library Search. And it's called Browsable Collection. So you can also look at all of the games that we have, because you can, they're behind a locked door, so you can't physically browse our gaming collection. You either have to know what we have or pull up this collection.
And one of the last ones, we at the library also have an AI search assistant. So when you log into the library, you have that first top bar right there. There's that with the little star, the AI search assistant. When you click that, you have this next box that's kind of in the middle where you can ask any natural language question. And it also, it'll give you some sample questions, and it also has that about AI search assistant. So you can learn more. This search assistant is only using resources that AU Library subscribes to. When you use a question, it will give you 5 different articles as citations that the library has, and it will show you those resources. So that's that bottom one. So I did a search about manatee conservation, and we got 5 different resources. If those resources weren't related to my question and I wanted something else, I can tell it, search again. I can narrow it down. AI.
Last but not least, we do have access to many of our library resources for alumni. As Olivia mentioned, we are open to the public. So if the alumni is in town, they can come in and use almost any of our resources. A couple of business databases are pretty protected for educational use only, but otherwise they can download whatever they want. They can access it. Alumni also retain borrowing privileges, so they can check out books just like they could. More commonly, if alumni are remote, we have actually negotiated access to alumni for a few databases that are listed here. It's a really common question, which I love to get when students are about to graduate, is how much do I get, right? Like they come to learn and value how much information we have at AU, which is a lot. So they at least get to keep a portion remotely.
Friends, we did it.
We did 61 because we did it. We're 5 minutes to spare.
So do you have questions?
Do you all have the Foundation Central database?
We do.
Is it accessible online?
Yes.
And
So
it's
any-
the professional edition too.
Let me see if no, okay, let me reshare and I will go to the AU Library homepage.
That's a great question. I didn't think about.
There we
For
go.
next year, what?
Yeah, I mean, we have over 600 databases. We've had like, how many years of these programs?
So am I sharing?
Just keep
Yes,
us in-
okay. So on the library homepage, this databases tab is where you're gonna find. And you can browse it here, A to Z, or you can search what you're looking for. So Foundation Directory Online Professional. So that's that database tab on the library homepage. That's your gateway to so many of these things.
And Libby, show them the, on the databases, you can go by subject too.
Right, so I'm gonna clear this filter and I'm gonna say, I need biology materials. And then I can filter the databases to some of our best bets, like Biological and Agricultural Index Plus, but also any of the databases that have a strong biology component to them.
Just know we are in the middle of canceling some resources, I'm just saying, because Claire already mentioned Rings of the World, it will go away at some point this year.
I am very sad.
No, me too.
You can download the Merlin app, it's free, it's awesome, it's the same people who run Birdsville, right, just saying.
And when you did that subject search, also we kind of populate over here that our expert for these resources is Clarissa, right? So that's gonna happen with each subject filter. So again, there's a self-serve option, right? Through the filtering and the searching. But if you're thinking, I'd really like to meet with a person who understands the subject area for the library's resources, that subject filter tells you who that person is and you can meet with us as well. That very first slide, right? Librarians are rad, which means it's our research assistant desk, right? But we're rad. So there's a very human component behind every single one of those slides, right? You can always come find us.
Since we have 2 more minutes, can you show them the subject guides tab too?
Yes.
These are
tab.
the subject guides are.
Music library is over on the left-hand side, they've got their own website, yeah.
Done.
So the subject guides we put together for our students, faculty and staff. So if you had to write a paper in chemistry, Clarissa has made one for chemistry. I said I made one for polls in public opinion. And like there's one on DC history and local area studies. There's just all kinds wonderful, yeah.
Any other questions? We have 2 minutes.
Will these slides be available somewhere?
I think they're gonna post the recording. If you want the slide deck itself, email me and I'll send it to you. My email address,
Wow.
already, the semester hasn't even started. All right, is my first initial O, my last name, IVEY, oivey, at american.edu.
And that is the answer we will always give you.
Yeah.
We cover a lot of resources, just so you know, come back and ask us.
Yeah,
right?
ask
We're
the
the experts
librarian,
in
first
all of
slide.
this stuff, and we would love to help you. We're kind of pathologically addicted to helping people, so you're not bothering us.
Yeah, and do encourage your students to make appointments with us. They can make them with it,
We've
but
got a question.
The Oxford reference materials, so the Oxford handbooks are all of these like 1,000-page handbooks are all online.
Yes.
Watch
That's
this,
great. It's a great resource.
search databases, Oxford handbooks,
You found it.
I think it's,
handbooks, that's fun, handbooks. Ta-da, now you're in all the Oxford, well, you gotta sign it.
2-factor, and then you're.
I don't
in.
have my cell phone, but so I can't do a mobile, but yes, every one of those Oxford handbooks. We do an annual purchase, so if something's locked, it might just be that we haven't gotten around to the annual purchase for that one yet, but yes, we buy them every year.
And do we have the Routledge handbooks?
Many of them, those we buy more title by title, just because so for Routledge, what I tend to do is in the library, main library search. I will go to advanced search. And I will do title contains handbook.
Mhm.
And then any field contains the thing I'm looking for. And that will find Routledge handbooks, Springer handbooks, Oxford handbooks, right? But by putting handbook in the title, I know I'm getting handbooks, and then the subject I can find, and it doesn't matter who's publishing it, I've got it. But you can also do Routledge as a keyword if you know you're looking for a Routledge one.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any final questions? We are happy to do this all day, but I'm sure you're gonna have a place to be.
This is more fun than my next meeting.
All right.
All right.
Thank you all for
Thank
attending.
Thank you.